The coffee shop's creaking door was something straight from a haunted house. It announced my arrival to people at the tables to the left, while others perused the bookshelves to my right. A posted menu advertised drinks, snacks, and this Saturday's dinner and movie. Beside the menu, a gray-haired man leaned on the countertop. He waved to me and resumed listening to his customer. I closed the door as the customer ended his story. The gentleman stood. "See, what I'd like to do is make a group, a Ghosthunter society, that people and businesses can call to investigate their disturbances." I stepped up to the gentleman. "If you do create such a group, I'll be the first to sign up." The gentleman smiled at me and said, "Neat." The gentleman was Dr. Glen Grant, Hawaii's ghost man, and this is Legends from the Pacific. Aloha, and thank you very much for joining me. This is Legends from the Pacific, Episode 2, Dr. Glen Grant, Hawaii's Ghost Man. I am Kamuela Kaneshiro. Later in this episode, your featured Hawaiian word and song, but first, Dr. Glen Grant. Dr. Grant was from Los Angeles, California. His father, Cliff Grant, worked on special effects for many Hollywood films. Dr. Grant would smile, telling me about the times his dad would let him and his siblings play with the flying monkey masks that were used in The Wizard of Oz. He proudly displayed a miniature cannon used in 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea and talked about his brother, Robbie the robot, from the film The Forbidden Planet. These were just some of the films his father worked on. Dr. Grant attended the University of Hawaii, received his master's in education and doctorate in American Studies. He'd go on to teach at UH and the Hawaii Tokai International University, where he became vice chancellor. He'd collect Hawaiian and Asian ghost stories and took people on ghost tours. He had a weekly radio show, Chicken Skin Radio. Chicken skin is Hawaiian pidgin, or local slang, for goosebumps. And he wrote several books, including the Obake Files. Obake is Japanese, but it's also Hawaiian pidgin for ghost. Because of his passion for Hawaii's supernatural stories, people called Dr. Grant the Obake Man. He opened a coffee shop, The Haunt, and began his tours there. But while Dr. Grant took people on bus tours to haunted areas, or guided them through graveyards in the middle of the night, he'd be the first to admit that he was the world's biggest chicken. One incident involved Dr. Grant taking a few people to a graveyard. It was a clear night and all was quiet, until they saw an elongated, shimmering apparition drift between the graves. They screamed and sped back to town. After calming down, they talked and realized something was off about what they just saw. They returned to the graveyard for a closer look, found the shimmering apparition, and discovered the apparition was water from sprinklers reflecting the streetlights. Dr. Grant also hated when people on his tour would see something behind him. You see, the group would face Dr. Grant in a semicircle while he told his stories, and he'd know when they saw something because their eyes would widen. They'd always wait for him to finish his story, and one of them would point behind him and say, "Dr. Grant, what is that?" And if something was there, he would be the first to run. Our opening story was how I met Dr. Grant. He was impressed that a magician with a background in film was part of the American Society for Psychical Research and conducting investigations. I became a regular on his radio show and was honored when he introduced me as the embodiment of the Obake Files. We formed the Hawaii Ghosthunter Society and helped residents and businesses with their paranormal problems. The society would unofficially meet at the Haunt on Saturday nights. By this time, Dr. Grant had others to do his bus tours, so we'd watch the tour leave, discuss our next investigation over dinner, and enjoy an old movie. There were about 24 members. I ensured there were skeptics, but towards the end, everyone had a few unexplainable incidents. During the official society meetings, Dr. Grant would brief us about our case and the history of where we'd be investigating. There were maybe a couple times when Dr. Grant joined us, but he avoided being in the field. However, one night, Dr. Grant had to do his Pali Highway bus tour. He soldiered on, though, with story after story. But as the bus entered the familiar Pully Road, low-hanging vines thumped the bus and startled Dr. Grant, who screamed in the middle of his story and dove into his seat. Dr. Grant unfortunately passed away from cancer. The society attempted contacting Dr. Grant following his passing, but we were unsuccessful. After losing Dr. Grant, the society had a few cases, but things were difficult. Since we didn't have Dr. Grant's historical knowledge, most of our time was spent researching historical records, so the society was disbanded. Still to come, your featured Hawaiian word and song, but now, a story. The following is based on collected testimony. Oahu's Pully Highway is known for paranormal activity. This is where the Hawaiians fought the Battle of Nu'uanu, which united all the islands and caused streams to run with blood. Portals to the spirit world are believed to be here, and the area is visited by Pele, who we spoke about previously. But a section around a hairpin turn that was once owned by Dr. James Morgan is known as Morgan's Corner. While there's an urban legend tied with Morgan's Corner, please continue listening to hear a little-known twist to this popular myth. The urban legend goes, one night, a couple parked beneath a big tree. When it was time to go, they tried to start the car, but the car wouldn't start. The lights turned on, but the engine didn't turn over. The boyfriend told his girlfriend to stay inside the car with the windows up and doors locked while he goes for help. The girl sits in the car, hears something around the car. Then, light thumping and scraping on the roof above her. Thump, thump, thump. It begins to rain, and rain drips on the car. Drip, 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 thump, thump, thump. The girl fell asleep to the sounds of the rain. Knocking on her window woke her. A Honolulu police officer asked if she was alright and hurried her to the squad car. The girl asked about her boyfriend. "Ma'am, I'll tell you later. Just get into the car and don't look back." The girl looked back and sees her boyfriend hanging upside down from the tree. His hand in the wind was blowing on the roof. Thump, thump, thump. Some of you listeners might know that part, but here's the catch. I'm not sure when, how, or who connected that urban legend with Morgan's Corner, and it's difficult to find the big tree the couple parked under, but if you find the correct tree, hug it, and look up into its branches, you'll see a hanging body. Someone did this and took a picture, which they sent to Dr. Grant. At first, the picture didn't look like anything, but when you look closer, in the picture's foreground, you could see, hanging from the tree, a hand with curled fingers. Coming up is your featured Hawaiian word and song. Listeners, I would like your help to make this show the best it can be. So please send me your feedback at our website, legendsfromthepacific.com. Dr. Grant once asked if I'd be interested in doing tours for him. I was honored but politely declined, and he understood that someone needed to investigate the stories behind the tours. Perhaps one day I'll reform the Hawaii Ghosthunter Society. As for the cases we investigated, those stories are for another time. While researching this episode, I searched Dr. Grant's files for the perfect stories to honor one of Hawaii's legends. But I imagined Dr. Grant shrugging with a smile and telling me, just pick any of them. And he'd be right, because this time, he was more important than the stories. Your featured Hawaiian word is KUMU, which is teacher. An example for KUMU would be KUMU hula, which is a hula teacher. If you like what you heard, please give us a rating, write a review, and share Legends from the Pacific with your friends and family. I'd really appreciate it. Our theme song is Mystery by Tavana, courtesy of High Sessions. Sound effects were by Sound Effects Factory. Our music coordinator is Matt Duffy. Links and show notes can be found on our website, legendsfromthepacific.com, including a link to your featured song, which is Molokai Sweet Home by Pure Heart, courtesy of High Sessions. Legends from the Pacific was written, produced, and edited by me, Kamuela Kaneshiro. I also wrote our original stories. Thank you once again for listening. Mahalo and ahui ho.
Feel your evening breeze tonight. Molokai, I'm longing for your laughter. Gaze upon your silent shore. Reminisce that sweet embrace of ginger. As New York City walls closed in, I long for the touch of an island, Molokai.